You've heard the theory. You understand Maslow's hierarchy. You know you're supposed to prioritize your own growth. But here's where most people get stuck. How do you actually do it? How do you translate these beautiful concepts into Monday morning decisions? Into saying no to your boss? Into disappointing your mother? Into choosing your dream over everyone's expectations? That's what we're going to solve today. Not with abstract philosophy, but with real strategies, real examples, real people who've climbed their own hierarchy and what it actually looked like when they did it. Because here's the truth. Self-actualization isn't some mystical state reserved for geniuses and monks. It's a systematic process. And once you understand the system, once you see how real people apply it in real situations, you'll realize something powerful. This is completely achievable for you. I'm going to walk you through 5 concrete steps. But more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly what each step looks like in practice. We're going to meet Sarah, a 32-year-old marketing director who was drowning in other people's priorities. We'll follow Marcus, a teacher who realized he was giving everything to his students while abandoning his own family. And we'll learn from Jennifer, an entrepreneur who discovered that being available 24/7 was actually killing her business. Their stories aren't unique, they're universal. And the strategies they used, you can implement them starting today. So if you're tired of theory without application, if you're ready to see exactly how self-actualization works in the real world, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you won't just understand what to do, you'll know exactly how to do it. Let's begin. Step 1, the energy audit. Understanding the foundation. Before you can climb Maslow's hierarchy, you need to know where you currently stand. And most people, they have no idea how they're actually spending their energy. Think about your bank account. You probably check it regularly. You know what's coming in and what's going out. But your energy, your time, your emotional bandwidth, most people operate completely blind. The energy audit changes that. Meet Sarah, the overcommitted marketing director. Sarah was completely burned out. She was 32, successful by every external measure. Director-level position, great salary, respected in her field. But she was exhausted. Not physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. I don't understand, she said to herself. I'm doing everything right. I'm helping my team, supporting my friends, taking care of my parents. Why do I feel so empty? Let's examine her calendar from last week. What she found was devastating. Out of 168 hours in a week, here's how Sarah was spending her time. 55 hours working, including evening emails. 56 hours sleeping, though poorly. 12 hours on other people's emergencies. 8 hours on household tasks. 10 hours commuting. 15 hours on social obligations she didn't want to attend. 7 hours scrolling social media to decompress. 5 hours on miscellaneous life admin. That's 168 hours. Notice what's missing. 0 hours on Sarah's own goals. 0 hours on her photography, which she used to love. 0 hours learning the skills she needed for the career move she actually wanted. 0 hours doing anything that fed her soul instead of draining it. How much did each activity serve each level of Maslow's hierarchy? The results were clear. Physiological needs, barely met. She was sleeping, but poorly. Eating, but mostly junk food at her desk. She hadn't exercised in months. Safety needs, violated constantly. No boundaries at work. Her phone buzzed 24/7. She never felt at peace. Belonging needs, superficially met. Lots of shallow interactions, very few deep connections. Most relationships were transactional. Esteem needs completely unmet. She was valued for what she produced, not who she was. Her self-respect was gone. Self-actualization, not even on the radar. Sarah was living in the basement of the hierarchy, and she didn't even know it. How to conduct your own energy audit. Let me show you exactly how to do this for yourself. You'll need a spreadsheet or a simple notebook. This takes about 2 hours, but it will change everything. Part 1. Time Inventory, Week 1. For 7 days, track every hour. Not what you think you do, what you actually do. Use your phone's screen time data. Check your calendar. Be brutally honest. Create these categories. Work, break into. Essential tasks, meetings, emails, admin. Personal growth, learning, creating, practicing skills. Relationships, break into. Deep connections versus obligatory. Basic needs, sleep, eating, exercise, hygiene. Recovery, genuine rest versus numbing behaviors. Waste, be honest about this one. Sarah's time tracker app showed she spent 14 hours per week on Instagram. She thought it was maybe 30 minutes. That's the power of tracking. Part 2. Energy Assessment, Week 2. Now go back through your time log. For each activity, ask, does this give me energy or take energy? Green, activities that energize you. Yellow, neutral activities, necessary but not draining. Red, activities that drain you. Which level of Maslow's hierarchy does this serve? Rate each: physiological, safety, belonging, esteem, or self-actualization. Sarah's results were stark. 87% of her time was spent on draining activities. 91% of her time was spent at the bottom 2 levels of the hierarchy. Only 2% of her time, about 3 hours per week, served her esteem or self-actualization. Part 3. The Gap Analysis. Now comes the crucial question: where do you want to be? Sarah created 2 columns: current state, how I'm actually living; desired state, how I want to be living. Her desired state looked radically different: 40 hours working, focused, not scattered. 10 hours on deep creative work, photography. 5 hours learning new skills, the marketing automation she needed. 8 hours with close friends and family, quality, not quantity. 7 hours exercising, something she actually enjoyed. 49 hours sleeping properly. 15 hours on genuine rest and recharging. 20 hours on necessary life tasks. 14 hours buffer for unexpected things. Notice what disappeared. The 12 hours spent on other people's emergencies. The 15 hours on social obligations she hated. The 7 hours mindlessly scrolling. But here's where most people stop. They see the gap and feel overwhelmed. The distance between current and desired feels impossible. Meet Marcus, the teacher who lost himself. Marcus was a high school English teacher, beloved by students, always available, staying late to help kids, spending weekends grading, coaching the debate team, running the literary magazine. Everyone saw a dedicated teacher. Marcus saw a stranger in the mirror. His energy audit revealed something heartbreaking. He was giving his best hours, his deepest energy, his most creative thinking to other people's children. Meanwhile, his own 2 kids barely saw him. His marriage was dying. His novel, the one he'd been working on for 8 years, had exactly 23 pages written. "I thought being a good teacher meant being always available," he lamented. "But I was teaching my own kids that they don't matter. That strangers deserve Dad's energy more than they do." Marcus's audit showed him something crucial. He was trying to skip directly to esteem and self-actualization through his work, while his safety, belonging, and even basic physiological needs were crumbling. He'd wake at 5:30 a.m., rush to school, teach all day while skipping lunch, stay until 6 p.m. helping students, come home to grade papers until 11 p.m., then collapse. On weekends, he'd coach and plan lessons. His wife said she felt like a single parent. His kids stopped asking him to come to their events. And that novel? It was the dream that kept getting deferred. The energy audit's hidden gift. Here's what both Sarah and Marcus discovered. The energy audit doesn't just show you what's wrong, it shows you what's negotiable. Marcus realized that being available to every student at every moment wasn't actually required. It was a story he told himself, a persona he wore to feel valuable. But it was costing him everything that actually mattered. Sarah discovered that 80% of the emergencies people brought to her weren't emergencies at all. They were other people's poor planning becoming her crisis. Your turn. Questions to ask. During your audit, as you review your time and energy data, ask yourself these critical questions. 1. What am I doing out of genuine desire versus obligation? Write 2 lists. Be honest. Sarah found that 60% of her activities were pure obligation, things she'd said yes to years ago and never reconsidered. 2. Which relationships are mutual versus one-sided? Marcus created a relationship map. Green lines for reciprocal relationships, red lines for energy vampires. The page was overwhelmingly red. 3. What am I avoiding by staying busy? This one cuts deep. Sarah realized her constant busyness was avoidance. Avoidance of the scary questions. What do I actually want? What if I pursue my real dreams and fail? What if people don't like the real me? 4. If I had only 6 months to live, what would I eliminate immediately? Morbid, maybe. Clarifying, absolutely. Marcus's answer, almost everything I'm currently doing. 5. What activities serve my future self versus my current anxiety? Sarah spent hours each day managing other people's perceptions of her. Every social media post was calculated, every email triple-checked, every social obligation attended to avoid judgment. None of this served her actual goals. All of it served her anxiety. The reality check. After Sarah completed her energy audit, she had tears streaming down her face. "I'm 32 years old," she said, "and I've spent the last decade building a life I don't even want. I've been so busy being who everyone needed me to be that I forgot to become who I actually am." That moment, that painful, honest moment, was the beginning of her transformation. Because you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. The energy audit forces acknowledgement. It makes the invisible visible. It shows you, in undeniable data, exactly how you're spending your one precious life. The 4 levels of energy debt. As you complete your audit, you'll likely find yourself in one of 4 levels of energy debt. Level 1, sustainable. Basic needs met consistently. Boundaries in place and respected. Mix of energy giving and necessary activities. Regular time for growth and creativity. Energy levels stable or increasing. If you're here, congratulations, you're rare. Your work is refinement, not overhaul. Level 2, stretched. Basic needs mostly met but inconsistent. Some boundaries, often violated. Majority of time spent on necessary tasks. Occasional time for growth, energy levels slightly declining. If you're here, you're sustainable short-term, but heading for trouble. Start making changes now before you slide to level 3. Level 3, depleted. This is where Sarah was. Basic needs barely met or sacrificed for others. Few or no boundaries. Constant reaction to others' needs. No time for personal growth. Energy levels significantly declining. Physical or emotional symptoms appearing. If you're here, you're in crisis, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Immediate changes required. Level 4, collapse. This is where Marcus was headed. Basic needs chronically unmet. No boundaries whatsoever. Life completely reactive. Zero personal time or energy. Severe depletion. Health consequences emerging. Relationships suffering or dead. If you're here, you need intervention, professional support, radical changes. This isn't sustainable even another week. Making it real. Sarah's first week. After her audit, Sarah had clarity but also terror. I know what needs to change, she said, but I don't know where to start. If I say no to everyone, I'll have no job and no friends. So she started small, strategically, with one simple rule. Protect 1 hour per day. Just 1 hour. Not for work, not for others. 1 hour for Sarah's actual priorities. She chose 6 to 7 a.m. before the world's demands began. She told no one, because she knew if she announced it, people would find ways to fill it. Week 1. She used that hour for photography. Nothing fancy. Just picked up her camera again, shot around her neighborhood, remembered why she loved it. Week 2. She added 30 minutes in the evening, said no to one social obligation, stayed home, read a book on marketing automation. Week 3. She turned off email notifications after 7 p.m. The world didn't end. Week 4. She had a conversation with her boss about boundaries. It went better than expected. 6 months later, Sarah works 42 focused hours instead of 55 scattered ones. She shoots photography 3 hours per week. She's taking an online course. She ended 2 draining friendships and deepened 3 meaningful ones. She lost 1 promotion opportunity, but gained something invaluable: herself. I'm not more productive, she told herself. I'm more alive. Your action step. Don't wait. Start your energy audit today. This week, track everything. Next week, assess it. The week after, we'll talk about what to do with what you discover. But let me warn you, this exercise will show you things you've been avoiding. It will make you uncomfortable. You'll want to quit halfway through. Don't. Because on the other side of that, discomfort is clarity. And clarity is the first step to freedom. Remember, Maslow's hierarchy isn't theoretical, it's practical. And it starts with knowing where you actually are, not where you think you are or wish you were. Sarah's energy audit saved her life. Marcus's audit saved his marriage. What will yours reveal? For the next section, there is a download link in the description for the Peak Experiences worksheet we are going to discuss. Step 2. Identifying your peak experiences. What peak experiences actually feel like. Maslow spent years studying the healthiest, most fulfilled people he could find, and he discovered something fascinating. They all regularly experienced what he called peak experiences, moments of profound fulfillment when they felt completely alive, completely themselves, completely present. But here's what most people get wrong. Peak experiences aren't always dramatic. You don't need to summit Everest or have a spiritual awakening. Sometimes a peak experience is finishing a project you're proud of. Sometimes it's a conversation that touches something deep. Sometimes it's solving a problem that's been nagging you for weeks. The key is this: during a peak experience, time disappears. Self-consciousness disappears. You're completely absorbed in what you're doing. And when it's over, you feel more yourself than before. Most people have had these moments, but they treat them as random luck, as lightning strikes they can't predict or replicate. The self-actualized person. They engineer these experiences. They create the conditions where peak experiences can happen regularly. Meet Jennifer, the entrepreneur who forgot why she started. Jennifer built a successful coaching business from scratch. 7 years of hustle, 6-figure revenue, waiting list of clients. By every metric, she'd made it. Except, she hated her life. "I started this business because I wanted freedom," she told herself. "Freedom to work when I wanted, with people I chose, doing work I loved. Now I'm more trapped than when I had a corporate job. I'm on Zoom 8 hours a day. I can't remember the last time I felt anything." A simple question. When was the last time she had a peak experience? A moment where she felt completely alive. She thought for a long time. Too long. Maybe 3 years ago, I was developing a new workshop. I got into this flow state where I was just creating, ideas pouring out. I worked for 6 hours straight, and it felt like 20 minutes. When I finished, I felt like I'd touched something real, like this was why I was put on earth. And she haven't felt that in 3 years. Now she's too busy delivering the workshop to everyone else. "I'm a factory. I produce the same content over and over. There's no creativity left, just execution," she lamented. Jennifer had achieved financial success by completely abandoning the activities that gave her life meaning. The peak experience inventory. Here's what I want you to do right now. Part 1. Remember your peaks. Think back over your entire life. List 10 to 15 moments when you felt most alive, most yourself, most fulfilled, when time disappeared and you were completely present. Don't filter these. Don't judge them. Just write them down. Jennifer's list: developing that workshop 3 years ago. Writing her first blog post that went viral 7 years ago. Having a breakthrough conversation with a client where everything clicked. Hiking alone in the mountains, solving a business problem in her head. Teaching her nephew to read. Planning a surprise party for her best friend. Learning pottery in a weekend workshop. Writing in her journal at a cafe. Insights pouring out. Brainstorming with her original business partner before they parted ways. Reorganizing her entire business model on a whiteboard at 2 a.m. Part 2. Find the patterns. Now analyze these experiences. What do they have in common? Jennifer discovered 3 clear patterns. Pattern 1. Creation over execution. Every single peak experience involved creating something new. Ideas, experiences, connections. None involved repeating something she'd done before. Pattern 2. Solitude or deep connection. She was either alone, hiking, journaling, late-night strategizing, or in genuine one-on-one connection, breakthrough conversations, teaching her nephew. Never in groups, never in shallow interactions. Pattern 3. No external pressure. The peaks happened when she was exploring for its own sake, not performing for others. The moment something became about meeting others' expectations, the flow disappeared. Your turn. Pattern analysis. Look at your own list. Ask these questions. When? Morning, afternoon, evening, weekday or weekend? Where? Alone or with others? Inside or outside? familiar or new environment. What? Creating, learning, connecting, problem-solving, moving, teaching. Why? For yourself or others, for love of it or external reward. Conditions: rested or energized, stressed or calm, planned or spontaneous. Marcus, our teacher, did this exercise and discovered something crucial. All his peak experiences happened when he was writing, not teaching. Writing. His novel wasn't a hobby, it was his calling. But he'd buried it under more important obligations. Sarah found that her peaks involved either photography or deep conversations with specific friends. Everything else in her life, the job, the social climbing, the perfect Instagram, was just noise. Part 3. The tragic gap. Now comes the painful part. Look at your current life. How much time do you spend in activities that have the conditions for peak experiences? Jennifer's answer: less than 5%. She spent 95% of her time on activities that had zero chance of producing a peak experience. She was busy, productive, successful, and completely empty. Marcus's answer: 0%. He hadn't touched his novel in 6 months, hadn't written anything except lesson plans and comments on student papers. Sarah's answer: 2%. She'd picked up her camera twice in the past year, had one deep conversation in the past month. Everything else was performative. This is the tragedy of modern life. We accidentally optimize for everything except what actually makes us feel alive. The flow state analysis. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who collaborated with Maslow, identified the conditions necessary for flow states, the secular term for peak experiences. Clear goals. You know what you're trying to accomplish. Immediate feedback. You can tell if you're succeeding. Challenge skill balance. Not too hard, not too easy. Deep concentration, single focus, no interruptions. Present moment awareness, not worrying about past or future, sense of control. You're choosing this, not obligated. Loss of self-consciousness, not performing for others. Time distortion. Hours feel like minutes. Jennifer mapped her typical workday against these criteria. Client calls, goals clear, but feedback delayed. Challenge low, same conversations repeatedly. Concentration fragmented, notifications back-to-back calls. Self-conscious, performing her role. Obligatory, scheduled months ago. Time drags, score, 2 out of 8 flow conditions met. Creating new content, goals clear. Immediate feedback, she knew if ideas were working. Challenge perfect, deep concentration, present moment, sense of control. No self-consciousness. Time disappeared. Score, 8 out of 8 flow conditions met. Jennifer was spending 90% of her time in 2/8 flow conditions and almost 0 time in 8/8 flow conditions. No wonder she felt dead inside. Meet David, the engineer who optimized the wrong things. David was a software engineer at a major tech company. Excellent salary, stock options, prestige, and absolutely miserable. I'm good at coding, he thought, but I don't love it. I never have peak experiences at work. I'm just competent, going through the motions. When did he have peak experiences? Teaching his daughter math, mentoring junior developers, explaining complex concepts simply, writing technical blog posts that helped people understand difficult ideas. The pattern was obvious. David's peaks came from teaching, not coding. But teaching pays terribly, he thought. How can I justify that? Here's where the conversation gets crucial. Peak experiences and self-actualization. Maslow was clear. Self-actualized people organize their lives around their peak experiences. They don't treat them as occasional treats. They structure everything to maximize these moments. This doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow. It means engineering your life so that more of your time is spent in activities that meet the conditions for flow. David didn't quit engineering, but he made strategic changes. Negotiated 1 day per week, mentoring junior developers, teaching his actual peak. Started writing technical tutorials, teaching through writing. Gave talks at local meetups, teaching in public. Reduced coding to 4 days per week. Maintained income. Protected 2 hours every Saturday morning for his daughter's math lessons. Pure peak experience. 6 months later, I'm still an engineer by title, but I'm a teacher by practice. And I feel alive again. He rejoiced. Jennifer's restructure. After identifying her peak patterns, Jennifer made radical changes. What she eliminated: group coaching programs, no peaks, pure execution, social media content creation, performing, not creating, networking events, shallow interactions, one-on-one client calls with poor-fit clients, draining, not fulfilling. What she protected and expanded: 2 full days per month, curriculum development, creation, flow, weekly writing time, solitary creation, quarterly deep dive intensives with ideal clients, depth, not breadth, monthly solo hiking days, solitude, reflection, problem solving. Her revenue dropped 30% the first year. She didn't care. I'll take 70% of the income and 300% of the aliveness, she said. By year 2, her revenue had bounced back. But more importantly, she had peak experiences almost daily. She'd reconstructed her entire business around the conditions that made her feel most alive. The peak experience budget. Here's a practical tool. Create a peak experience budget. Just like you budget money, budget time for activities that have high peak potential. Jennifer's weekly peak budget. 8 hours creating new content, high peak potential. 6 hours deep client work, medium high peak potential. 4 hours writing, journaling, high peak potential. 4 hours solitude in nature, high peak potential. 3 hours genuine connection with close friends, medium high peak potential. Total, 25 hours per week, dedicated to activities with peak potential. Compare that to before, when she had maybe 2 hours per week. Marcus's weekly peak budget, 10 hours writing his novel, highest peak potential. 5 hours reading, high peak potential. 8 hours quality time with his kids, high peak potential. 5 hours date nights with his wife, high peak potential. 30 hours teaching, reduced from 60 plus, focused on the parts he loved. Total, 28 hours of peak potential versus his previous near zero. Your action step, the peak calendar. Take out your calendar for next week, right now. Block out at least 3 hours total, doesn't have to be consecutive, for activities that match your peak experience patterns. Not if you have time. Not if nothing else comes up. Block it like you'd block a crucial meeting. Because here's what Maslow understood. Peak experiences aren't luxuries, they're necessities. They're what your psyche needs to thrive. They're the difference between surviving and self-actualizing. Most people wait for peak experiences to happen. Self-actualized people engineer them. Sarah now has 5 hours per week, blocked for photography. It's non-negotiable. She's said no to job opportunities that would require giving it up. Marcus writes every morning from 5 to 7 a.m. His novel is now 180 pages. He'll finish it this year. Jennifer restructured her entire business model around peak experiences. She makes less money than she could. She works with fewer clients than she could, and she's never been happier. The ultimate question. If peak experiences are when you feel most alive, and self-actualization is about becoming fully yourself, then doesn't it follow that a self-actualized life is one structured around maximizing peak experiences? Most people have this backward. They think, first, I'll sacrifice and work hard and be practical, and then someday, when I have time, I'll do what makes me feel alive. But someday never comes. There's always another obligation, another expectation, another reason to defer. The self-actualized person inverts this. I will structure my life around what makes me feel alive, and I'll be strategic about everything else. It's not selfish, it's necessary. Because when you're having regular peak experiences, when you're operating in flow, when you're feeling fully alive, that's when you have the most to give others. That's when you're most creative, most generous, most impactful. You can't pour from an empty cup, but you also can't pour from a cup that's never filled with anything worth pouring. Peak experiences fill you with something worth sharing. So stop waiting, start engineering. Your peaks aren't accidents, they're signposts. They're showing you the way to your highest self. All you have to do is follow them. Step 3, strategic unavailability. The hardest part, actually saying no. You've done your energy audit. You know where your life is going wrong. You've identified your peak experiences. You know what makes you feel alive. Now comes the part where most people quit. Actually protecting that time and energy. Because here's what happens. You block out Tuesday morning for your creative work. Then your boss schedules a meeting. Your friend has a crisis. Your mum needs help. Your colleague asks for just 5 minutes. And suddenly, Tuesday morning is gone. And you tell yourself, this time was important. I couldn't say no. But here's the brutal truth. If you can't say no to what doesn't matter, you're saying no to what does. Every yes to someone else's agenda is a no to your own becoming. Meet Rachel, the people pleaser who lost herself. Rachel was everyone's favorite person. Need help moving? Call Rachel. Need someone to listen? Rachel's available. Need a volunteer? Rachel will do it. She was drowning in yes. She was 45 years old, working a job she hated, in a marriage that felt dead, with hobbies she'd abandoned decades ago. She'd spent 25 years being helpful, being nice, being available. I thought that's what good people do, she thought. You show up. You help. You put others first. It's not working for me, she sighed. Long silence. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm everyone's helper, but I'm nobody's priority, including my own. Rachel's energy audit was devastating. 92% of her waking hours were spent on other people's needs and wants. She had no hobbies, no creative pursuits, no personal goals. She was a function, not a person. She couldn't name a single peak experience from the past 5 years. It would be selfish to have anything you do just for yourself, she used to think. There it was, the belief that was destroying her. Choosing yourself is selfish. The guilt trap. Here's what makes strategic unavailability so difficult. We've been conditioned to feel guilty for having boundaries. You say no to a request, and immediately your brain floods with thoughts. They'll think I'm selfish. What if they need me? What if they stop liking me? What if I'm letting them down? Good people don't say no. This guilt is not accidental. It's how the system keeps you available. It's how others maintain access to your time and energy without having to earn it. But let's reframe this. When you say yes to something that depletes you, you're saying no to your own potential. Who's being selfish now? Marcus's breaking point. Remember Marcus, the teacher? His strategic unavailability moment came during a parent-teacher conference. A parent complained that Marcus was less available for extra help sessions after school. "I used to be able to email you at 9 p.m. and get a response within an hour," the parent said. "Now sometimes you don't respond until the next day. My son needs more support than that." Old Marcus would have apologized, would have committed to being more available, would have sacrificed another evening with his own family to serve someone else's child. New Marcus said, "I'm available during school hours and my posted office hours. Outside of that, I'm with my own family. Your son has access to the same support as every other student. If he needs more than I can provide within appropriate boundaries, we can explore other resources." The parent was shocked. The principal later pulled Marcus aside. "I got a complaint about you being less available." Marcus's response, "Good. That means I'm finally being available to the people who should matter most." The 4 types of number. Most people think saying no means being rude or aggressive. But strategic unavailability isn't about being harsh. It's about being clear. Here are 4 types of no that preserve your energy without burning bridges. Type 1, the complete number. "No, I'm not able to do that." No explanation, no justification, no apology. Just a clear, complete number. When to use. When the request doesn't align with your priorities at all, and explaining would just open negotiations. Example: Rachel was asked to chair the PTA fundraising committee. Old Rachel would have said yes immediately. New Rachel said, "No, I'm not able to do that." When pressed for a reason, "I've committed to other priorities this year." Type 2, the conditional number. "I can't do X, but I can do Y." You're willing to help, but on your terms. When to use. When you genuinely want to contribute, but need boundaries. Example: Marcus's colleague asked him to co-sponsor the school musical. A huge time commitment. He said, "I can't co-sponsor, but I'm happy to attend performances and help with one rehearsal." Type 3, the delayed number. "Let me check my calendar and get back to you." You're not saying yes in the moment, which gives you time to evaluate whether this aligns with your priorities. When to use. When you need space to think without social pressure. Example: Jennifer's client wanted to add weekly calls to their monthly package. Instead of agreeing immediately, she said, "Let me look at my schedule and my current client load. I'll get back to you by Friday." She ultimately said no. Adding weekly calls would have eaten her creation time. Type 4, the future number. "I'm fully committed right now, but I might have space in specific future time." You're not closing the door, but you're not opening it now either. When to use. When something interests you, but timing is wrong. Example: Sarah was invited to join a board for a photography nonprofit. She was interested, but knew she couldn't commit right now. She said, "I'm honored to be asked, but I'm protecting my time for the next 6 months while I develop my portfolio." Can we revisit this in January? Jennifer's strategic unavailability system. After restructuring her business around peak experiences, Jennifer needed a system to protect that structure. Here's what she implemented. Email, batch processing. Checks email twice daily, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Autoresponder. I check email twice daily and respond within 24 hours. Turned off all notifications. unsubscribed from everything non-essential. First week, 47 people commented that she was less responsive. Her response: I'm exactly as responsive as I need to be for excellent work. I'm just no longer reactive. Phone. Do not disturb default. Phone on do not disturb mode by default. Only 5 people can reach her immediately. Family emergencies only. Returns calls during designated times. Stopped apologizing for missed calls. Calendar, protected blocks. Creation days, Mondays and Thursdays. No meetings, no calls, no exceptions. Client days, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Meetings allowed but limited to 4-hour blocks. Admin days, Fridays. Email, planning, logistics. Weekends, completely off-grid. The resistance was immediate and intense. Clients complained, I need more access to you. Her response: you have exactly the access you need for the results you hired me to create. More access would actually reduce the quality of my work. Friends complained, you never answer your phone anymore. Her response: I call you back. Usually the same day. If it's an actual emergency, you can reach me. If it's not urgent enough for that, then it can wait a few hours. Family complained, you're becoming selfish. Her response: I'm becoming whole. There's a difference. Within 3 months, something interesting happened. The complaints stopped. People adjusted. They learned her availability patterns and worked within them. And, this is crucial, the people who couldn't adjust revealed themselves as people who only valued her accessibility, not her. Those relationships ended. Jennifer didn't mourn them. The emergency test. Rachel struggled with saying no to emergencies. Everything felt urgent when someone else needed something. So she created the emergency test. When someone says something is urgent, ask 3 questions. 1. Is this urgent because of actual emergency or poor planning? Rachel's friend: I need you to babysit tomorrow. It's an emergency. Reality: she forgot she had plans and waited until the last minute to find childcare. Verdict: not an emergency. Poor planning. Rachel's response: I'm not available tomorrow. Let me know if I can help next time with more notice. 2. Is this my emergency to solve? Rachel's coworker: I'm behind on my project deadline. Can you help me finish? Reality: coworker procrastinated. Now wants Rachel to fix it. Verdict: not Rachel's emergency. Rachel's response: I have my own deadlines. You might want to talk to manager about an extension. 3. If I say no, what's the actual worst-case scenario? This one is crucial. Rachel realized that most of the emergencies she rescued people from would resolve themselves if she didn't intervene. Rachel's mom: I need you to come over right now and help me with my computer. Worst case if Rachel says no. Mom calls tech support, or asks someone else, or figures it out herself. Rachel's response: I can't come right now. Can we schedule time this weekend? Or would you like the number for tech support? At first, this felt cruel to Rachel, but she realized, by always rescuing people, she was preventing them from developing their own problem-solving capabilities. Her helpfulness was actually creating learned helplessness. Marcus's office hours revolution. Marcus took strategic unavailability into his teaching practice. Old Marcus: available before school, during lunch, after school, and via email until 10 p.m. Students could drop by any time for help. Parents could reach him 24/7. Result: constantly interrupted, never in flow, exhausted. New Marcus, posted office hours. Monday, Wednesday, 3 to 4 p.m. Thursday, 7 to 8 a.m. Email response time. Within 24 hours during school days, no weekends. Virtual office hours. Tuesday, 7 to 8 p.m. for remote questions. Result: better quality help during designated times, protected time for his family and writing. The pushback was fierce. Some parents complained to administration. The principal called him in. Parents are saying you're less available. I'm differently available. I'm giving better, more focused help during appropriate hours, instead of fragmented attention at all hours. My students' grades have actually improved because when I'm with them, I'm fully present. And my personal well-being has improved, which makes me a better teacher. The principal couldn't argue with results. Marcus kept his boundaries. The deeper lesson: when Marcus was available 24/7, he was never really available. He was always distracted, always thinking about the next thing, always half present. Now, during his office hours, he was completely present. Students got better help in one focused hour than they used to get in scattered availability throughout the day. Strategic unavailability made him more effective, not less. Sarah's social media detox. Sarah's strategic unavailability included a radical step. She quit Instagram. "But I need it for networking," she protested. "Do you? Let's test it." Sarah deleted Instagram for 30 days. Here's what happened. Week 1, phantom phone checking. Anxiety about missing out, FOMO in full force. Week 2, anxiety subsiding, starting to notice how much time she had. Week 3, clarity emerging, realizing how much of her emotional energy went into managing her online image. Week 4, liberation. No longer comparing herself to others, no longer performing for an audience, no longer getting dopamine hits from likes and validation. After 30 days, she permanently deleted her account. Lost opportunities? Maybe some, but gained 4 hours per week of creative time, mental space, peace. "I thought I needed to be visible to be valuable," she said. "Turns out, I just needed to be visible to myself." The announcement trap. Here's a mistake people make. They announce their new boundaries publicly, seeking approval or understanding. Rachel posted on Facebook, "Starting a new chapter where I prioritize self-care and boundaries." Immediate responses: "Good for you." Performative support. "Hope you're okay." Concern trolling. "We all need boundaries." People who won't respect hers. "Don't forget about your friends." Veiled criticism. The problem: by announcing it, Rachel invited commentary and accountability to the wrong people. She made her personal transformation a public performance, which defeated the purpose. Jennifer learned this. Don't announce your boundaries, just implement them. No big declarations, no explanations, no seeking permission. Just quietly restructure your availability and let people adjust. When someone notices you're different, simple response: "I'm just being more intentional about my time and energy." If they push, "But what about?" Simple repetition: "I'm being more intentional. This is what works for me." The waiting game. Here's what happens when you first implement strategic unavailability. Phase 1, escalation, week 1 to 2. People will test your boundaries. Request urgency will increase. Guilt tripping will intensify. You'll hear, "This isn't like you." I really need you. Just this once. This is boundary testing. Hold firm. Phase 2. Adjustment. Week 3 to 4. People start adapting. They learn your patterns. They stop expecting immediate responses. They find other resources. You'll feel guilty during this phase. Am I being too harsh? Did I hurt them? Should I relax my boundaries? Don't. This is the critical period. If you cave now, you're teaching them that persistence breaks your boundaries. Phase 3. Acceptance. Week 5 to 8. Your new availability becomes normal. People stop commenting. They work within your structure. The relationships that remain are healthier. Phase 4. Liberation. Week 9 plus. You realize you've reclaimed your life. The time you protected is now filled with your priorities. Peak experiences are regular. You feel like yourself again. Marcus hit phase 4 around week 10. I can't believe I lived that other way for so long, he said. I was giving myself away piece by piece and calling it virtue. The relationship filter. Strategic unavailability has a side effect. It filters your relationships. Some people will respect your boundaries immediately. These are healthy relationships worth keeping. Some people will adapt after initial resistance. These are salvageable relationships. Some people will never accept your boundaries. These are toxic relationships that needed to end. Rachel lost 7 friendships in the first 3 months. All of them were people who only called when they needed something. When Rachel stopped being available as their emergency contact, convenience, or emotional dumping ground, they disappeared. I thought they were my friends, she thought. Turns out, they were my users. But she also deepened 3 friendships. The people who respected her boundaries, who supported her growth, who reciprocated her energy. Those relationships became richer. Quality over quantity. Jennifer's client firing. Jennifer took strategic unavailability to its logical conclusion. She fired 40% of her clients, not because they were terrible people, but because they violated the conditions for her peak experiences. Clients who demanded 24/7 access. Clients who wanted execution, not creation. Clients who drained her energy more than they energized her work. Clients who didn't respect boundaries. She sent a professional email. As I restructure my practice to provide better service to fewer clients, I won't be able to continue our work together. Here are 3 colleagues I recommend. Her revenue dropped immediately. Her energy soared. Within 6 months, she'd replaced that revenue with clients who were perfect fits. Clients who valued her creation time, respected her boundaries, and participated in work that led to peak experiences. I make the same money working with 10 ideal clients as I did working with 30 mediocre clients, she realized. But the quality of my work and my life is incomparable. Your action step, the 80/20 boundary audit. This week, track every request for your time and energy. For each one, ask, does this align with my peak experiences or energy priorities? Chances are, 80% of requests serve other people's agendas, not your growth. For the next month, say no to 50% of the things in that 80%. Don't negotiate, don't explain extensively, just decline. Redirect that time to your protected priorities. Watch what happens. You'll lose some people. Good. They were never yours to keep. You'll disappoint some people. Necessary. Their disappointment is not your responsibility. You'll feel guilty, expected. The guilt is conditioning, not truth. But you'll also reclaim hours, days, maybe weeks of your life. And in that reclaimed time, you'll start to become who you actually are, not who everyone needs you to be. The strategic unavailability oath. Marcus, Sarah, Jennifer, and Rachel all wrote themselves an oath. This template is available as a download in the description. Here's the template. I commit to protecting my time and energy. I understand that saying yes to everyone means saying no to myself. I understand that being available to everything meaningful requires being unavailable to much that isn't. I will no longer apologize for having boundaries. I will no longer justify my need for protected time. I will no longer sacrifice my peak experiences for others' convenience. I recognize that people who respect my growth will respect my boundaries. I recognize that people who can't accept my unavailability can't accept my full self. I choose myself, not selfishly, but necessarily, because I cannot become who I'm meant to be while remaining who everyone needs me to be. Starting today, I am strategically unavailable to anything that doesn't serve my highest becoming. Sign it, date it, read it when guilt comes knocking. Because it will. The guilt will whisper, "This is selfish. You're letting people down. You're being cruel." But you'll know the truth. You're not being cruel. You're being clear. And clarity is the kindest thing you can offer to others and to yourself. Strategic unavailability isn't about abandoning the world. It's about refusing to abandon yourself. Maslow was right. Self-actualization requires protecting the conditions for growth. And sometimes, the most important word on that journey is no. Step 4, embracing healthy selfishness. The word everyone fears. Let's address the elephant in the room. Selfish. It's the word that stops most people from prioritizing their own growth. It's the accusation that makes people abandon their boundaries. It's the fear that keeps people trapped in lives they hate. If I choose myself, I'm selfish. If I say no, I'm selfish. If I prioritize my needs, I'm selfish. But here's what Maslow discovered. The most generous, impactful, truly helpful people are deeply self-full. They've filled their own cup first. They operate from overflow, not depletion. They give freely because they have something worth giving, not because they're trying to fill an internal void with external approval. The most selfish thing you can do is give from emptiness, because giving from emptiness is manipulation disguised as generosity. Meet Tom, the martyr who helped no one. Tom was a social worker, dedicated his entire life to helping others, worked 60-hour weeks, took everyone's crises home with him, never took vacation, prided himself on being the person you can always count on. At 52, he had a breakdown. Hospitalized for exhaustion and depression. Marriage ended years ago because he had nothing left for his wife. His kids barely knew him. He'd given his best energy to strangers' kids. His health was destroyed. Stress-related illness after illness. "I don't understand," he said. "I gave everything. I sacrificed. I helped people. Why do I feel like a failure?" Because Tom wasn't actually helping people. He was using them. Using them to feel needed. Using them to avoid his own pain. Using them to construct an identity as the helper, so he didn't have to face who he was without that role. His generosity was the most selfish thing he could have done, because it destroyed him, and ultimately left the people who needed him most, his family, with nothing. Selfish versus self-full, the critical distinction. Let me show you the difference. Selfish, taking from others to fill yourself, hoarding resources others need, refusing to contribute to mutual well-being, exploiting others for personal gain, ignoring legitimate needs you have capacity to meet. Self-full, filling yourself so you can give from overflow. Taking care of your needs so you can genuinely help others. Setting boundaries to preserve your capacity to contribute. Investing in your growth to increase your value to others. Recognizing that depleted people cannot sustainably help anyone. Tom was actually selfish. He was taking emotional validation from others while giving nothing of value because he had nothing valuable left to give. Meet Diana, the self-full leader. Diana ran a non-profit serving homeless youth. Heartbreaking work, constant need, never enough resources. For years, she operated like Tom, giving everything, sleeping in her office, skipping meals, never taking breaks. "These kids need me," she'd say. "How can I rest when they're suffering?" Then she collapsed. Literally. Passed out at her desk from exhaustion. Her board mandated she take a month off. She fought it. "This is selfish. The kids need me." Her board chair said something that changed everything. "Diana, you're no good to these kids dead. And right now, you're killing yourself. The most selfish thing you can do is destroy the person who's most capable of helping them." That month off, Diana did something she'd never done. She took care of herself. She slept. Actually slept full nights. She ate well. She exercised. She saw friends. She read books for pleasure. She remembered she was a human, not just a function. When she returned, everything changed. Diana's new operating system. Work hours, 45 per week maximum, not 70. Sleep, non-negotiable 8 hours nightly. Exercise, 4 times per week, during work hours. Vacation, 3 weeks annually, completely unplugged. Boundaries, no work emails after 6 p.m. or on weekends. Self-care, weekly therapy, monthly massage, daily meditation. Her staff worried, won't the organization suffer? The opposite happened. Diana was sharper, more creative, better at solving problems, more present with the kids, more inspiring to donors, more effective at fundraising. In the next year, the organization served 40% more youth, not less. Raised 60% more funding. Retained staff better. They modeled her boundaries. Achieved better outcomes for kids. How? Because Diana was finally operating from her full capacity. She wasn't dragging herself through days. She was bringing her best self to the work. This is healthy selfishness. Taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. The oxygen mask principle. Flight attendants say it every time. Put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out, you can't help anyone. This isn't controversial on airplanes, but suggests the same principle for life, and people act like you're advocating abandonment. Put your own needs first sounds selfish. But ask yourself, when you're depleted, resentful, exhausted, running on fumes, how effective is your help? Rachel, our people pleaser, realized something painful. Most of her help was actually harmful. She'd show up to help friends, but be so exhausted and resentful that her energy poisoned the interaction. She'd volunteer for things, then do them poorly because she was overextended. She'd offer advice from a place of depletion, giving others the same terrible patterns that were destroying her. Her generosity was spreading her disease, not health. When Rachel started prioritizing herself, sleeping enough, exercising, pursuing her own interests, she had less time to help. But the help she did offer, actually valuable. She was present, energized, genuinely generous instead of resentfully obligated. Her friends noticed. You seem different, happier, more solid. "I'm finally helping from overflow instead of depletion," she said. The self-actualization paradox. Here's what Maslow observed. Self-actualized people appear selfish to those operating from deficiency. Why? Because self-actualized people don't need external approval, don't overfunction to be valued, don't sacrifice themselves to be accepted, don't give from obligation. To someone seeking validation through helping, this looks like selfishness. But the truth is the opposite. Self-actualized people are the most truly generous because they give what they actually have, not what they don't. They help in ways that empower, not enable. They contribute from fullness, not emptiness. They respect others enough to let them solve their own problems. Marcus realized this with his students. Old Marcus. Available 24/7, doing everything for students, preventing them from struggling. Result? Students dependent, not independent. Learning to seek rescue, not develop resilience. New Marcus. Clear boundaries, strategic availability, letting students struggle productively. Result: students developing problem-solving skills, resilience, self-efficacy. "I thought helping meant removing all obstacles," Marcus said. "But sometimes the most helpful thing is letting people figure it out themselves." My boundaries weren't selfish. They were developmental. Permission to choose yourself. If you're reading this and feel guilty about prioritizing yourself, I want to give you explicit permission. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to have needs and meet them. You are allowed to pursue your own growth. You are allowed to say no to demands on your time and energy. You are allowed to be unavailable to people who drain you. You are allowed to invest in your own well-being. You are allowed to put yourself first sometimes, or often. You are allowed to build a life that fulfills you, even if others don't understand it. This is not selfish. This is necessary, because you cannot give what you don't have. And if you're empty, all you're giving others is emptiness. Sarah's guilt breakthrough. Sarah struggled deeply with this. Every time she prioritized photography over helping someone, guilt flooded her. Her therapist asked a crucial question. Whose voice is the guilt? Whose belief system are you operating from? Sarah realized. The guilt was her mother's voice. Her mother, who'd sacrificed everything for others and been miserable. Her mother, who'd taught Sarah that goodness meant self-erasure. My mother gave herself away and resented everyone for it, Sarah said. She was bitter until the day she died. Is that the model I want to follow? The answer was obvious. Sarah wrote a letter to herself, a new permission slip. Dear Sarah, your mother's self-sacrifice didn't make her happy. It made her bitter. Don't repeat her pattern. You choosing yourself doesn't hurt anyone, but you abandoning yourself hurts you, and ultimately everyone you love. Fill your own cup, then share from overflow. That's real generosity. Love the woman you're becoming. She read that letter every time guilt appeared. Eventually, the guilt quieted. Jennifer's boundary mantra. Jennifer created a simple test for every request. Can I give this generously, or will I give it resentfully? If generous, yes. If resentful, no. Because giving resentfully isn't actually giving. It's scorekeeping disguised as generosity. It's building debt you'll later use as leverage. It's manipulation. True generosity only comes from people who've taken care of themselves first. Your action step, the self-full assessment. Answer these questions honestly. When you help others, do you feel energized or depleted after? If depleted, you're giving from emptiness. If energized, you're giving from overflow. Do you expect recognition or reciprocation for your help? If yes, you're not actually giving, you're trading. If no, you're giving freely. Do you feel resentful when your help isn't appreciated? If yes, you are helping to be valued, not to help. If no, your value comes from within. Can you say no without guilt when you need to? If no, you're helping from obligation. If yes, you're helping from choice. Are you neglecting your own needs to meet others? If yes, this isn't generosity, it's self-abandonment. If no, you're operating sustainably. If you answered the wrong way to most of these, here's your new mandate. For the next month, help no one. I'm serious. Unless it's a genuine emergency, someone's actual safety, say no to every request for help. Use that month to fill yourself, sleep, exercise, pursue your interests, do the things that feed your soul. Watch what happens. At first, guilt, anxiety, fear of being selfish. Then, energy returning, clarity emerging, yourself coming back into focus. Finally, the ability to help others from fullness instead of emptiness. Tom did this after his breakdown. Took 3 months completely off from helping anyone. His social worker instinct screamed that this was selfish. But when he returned to work, everything changed. He was present, effective, sustainable. He helped fewer people, but actually helped them. Before, he was just transferring his dysfunction to them. I had to learn to be self-full before I could be helpful, he said. The ultimate truth. You cannot become self-actualized while living for others' approval. You cannot reach your highest potential while meeting everyone else's expectations. You cannot give your best to the world while giving nothing to yourself. Healthy selfishness isn't the opposite of generosity. It's the prerequisite. Fill yourself first, then, and only then, give from overflow. That's not selfishness. That's wisdom. Next steps. Download a copy of the Self-Actualization Workbook and begin. Where you are now. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey, you now have something most people never get. A complete system for practical self-actualization. You know how to audit your energy and see where it's actually going. You know how to identify your peak experiences and engineer more of them. You know how to implement strategic unavailability and protect your priorities. You know how to embrace healthy selfishness without guilt. But knowledge alone changes nothing. Action changes everything. The 30-day Self-Actualization Challenge. Here's your roadmap for the next month. Week 1. Awareness. Complete your full energy audit. Track every hour of every day. Identify your peak experience patterns. Don't change anything yet. Just observe. Week 2. Decisions. Based on your audit, identify what must change. List the top 5 energy drains to eliminate. List the top 5 peak activities to protect. Design your ideal week. Week 3. Implementation. Start saying no to energy drains. Block time for peak activities. Implement 1 boundary per day. Accept the discomfort. Week 4. Reinforcement. Hold your boundaries when tested. Double down on protected time. Let relationships filter themselves. Evaluate what's working. Your commitment. Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer, Rachel, Tom, Diana, David. All of them transformed their lives using these exact principles. They're not special. They're not superhuman. They just decided that becoming who they're meant to be matters more than being who everyone expects. Now it's your turn. Will you stay in the basement of Maslow's hierarchy, scrambling for approval and belonging while your potential dies? Or will you climb, systematically, deliberately, unapologetically, toward your highest self? The choice is yours. But I'll tell you this, 6 months from now, you'll either be living a life structured around your peak experiences, or you'll still be making excuses for why you can't. Both paths are hard. Choose your hard. Final words. Self-actualization isn't a luxury. It's your birthright. You weren't put here to survive. You were put here to become. Become fully yourself. Become fully alive. Become everything you're capable of being. And that journey, that beautiful, difficult, liberating journey, begins the moment you decide you're worth it. So decide, today. Now, I choose my growth. Say it out loud, mean it, then start living it. The world doesn't need more people pleasers, more martyrs, more people giving from emptiness. The world needs you, fully actualized, operating at your peak, giving from overflow. That's the person you're meant to become. Start becoming them today. Every small change starts with awareness. Like, subscribe, and share if you're ready to grow consciously.